after waiting a month, I finally received this beauty in the mail, the AYN Thor. Yeah, I'm stoked. Okay, so for the past week, I've been using this guy and I've done a lot of things on it, and I think it gets a lot of things right when it comes to handheld gaming. Okay, first off, you can't talk about this device without first acknowledging the aesthetics. It's gorgeous. You know, I personally never owned a 3DS, but I always wanted one, and I always admired the aesthetic of 3DSs. And this is essentially that, but just in the modern day and updated because of the technology of the modern day. So you get two OLED screens with the top being 120 hertz and the bottom being 60 hertz. You get Hall effect RGB LED lighting joysticks, and it's all compact in this clamshell design, just like the original 3DS. Although it's a bit thicker, of course. And I opted to get the Pro model in this beautiful rainbow colorway. And if you've seen any videos online, you've probably seen a lot of people customizing these, and you can really kind of make it your own. You can put all kinds of skins and accessories on it, but I'm pretty much rocking mine just stock, just with this TPU shell, just to protect it against any like bumps, scratches, and stuff like that. I also got the additional grip from AYN to match the color of the system, and just to improve the ergonomics a little bit. But other than that, mine is pretty stock. I haven't really put any skins or anything like that on it, and it's just beautiful, you know, just the way that it is. I'm a big fan, obviously, as you can tell. I'm sure you guys have seen a bunch of different videos online from different people who have the AYN Thor that are using different front ends. And, you know, I really think when you get a good front end setup, it really brings this console to life. It brings everything together. And instead of making it feel like it's an Android device, it makes it feel like a handheld console. Personally, I've only really been using two different front ends. The first being Emulation Station, and the second being Cocoon. And they both have their pros and cons, but I think honestly, for the most part, I've just been using Emulation Station just because I think it's a little bit more seamless and just a little bit easier to set up, especially when it comes to doing things like scraping box art and whatnot. And now that they have the companion app, it really makes use of the two screens. And although the second screen really doesn't display much useful information, it's just aesthetic, just like the rest of this console. It's just beautiful to use. Once you get a good setup for like a front end, it's just really nice to just browse your library and your games. I honestly love the design of the Thor. You know, I love that it's essentially the spirit of the 3DS in the modern day. And just like I've talked about in the past about cameras, because it looks so pretty and so beautiful to pick up, it makes me want to pick it up more often. It sounds like silly now that I say it out loud, but it's true. It really is true. Like, because it looks so good and it's so small and it's, you know, a compact size, there's really not too many reasons not to pick it up and use it. And yeah, you know, it really makes me want to pick it up more often. And I often will for 10 to 20 minute, you know, gaming sessions in small like little bursts. And these like small 10 to 20 minute sessions that I'll play throughout the day feel like low commitment, which is really awesome, I feel like, in my life currently, because gaming has always felt, as I've gotten older, more like a task, more of a commitment that I've got to sit down, you know, like on a home console like my PS5 or even my Xbox 360, and I've got to set aside time to play it. But when you can take it with you anywhere, and it's very easy to just pick up, play, turn on, play a quick game, and then get off, I feel like it's been easier to integrate gaming in like my everyday life with this. It's definitely made a big difference for sure. And because I pick it up more often, I've been playing more often. And because of the size of the Thor, I pretty much bring it with me whenever I can. You know, and all of these aesthetics and looks, it's a big reason why I love using it. But, you know, there is a cost to that, and I think a big cost for most people is going to be the ergonomics. It's not the most comfortable if you're planning on playing games for longer game sessions, but honestly, the Thor, you know, the idea and the design like philosophy of the handheld, in my opinion, doesn't really suit that anyways. And so if you're looking for something that you can play for longer game sessions, this probably isn't for you. But if you want to do that as well as having it be as portable as it is. I think that's where it shines, because you can get things like third-party grips. You can get grips from AYN, or other people are making like 3D printed grips now for it that greatly improve the ergonomics so that you can play for longer sessions without feeling like your hands are getting like cramped up. Okay, let's talk games. The Thor can handle retro games all the way up to the PS2 relatively easily. And I mean, like, really easy. It like chews through those games for the most part. I'm sure there's some exceptions in there, but for the most part, it really does play all the systems all the way up to the PS2 really easy, and that's great. It's also been an absolute pleasure playing these games on this beautiful 6-inch OLED display at 120 hertz, which makes gameplay like super smooth. 3DS and DS games work extremely well on this guy. It's, you know, it's pretty obvious because it's got 2 screens, and so it really makes use of both of those screens once you play those systems. But being that it is so powerful, you can play a lot of those games at upscaled resolutions, and on that beautiful OLED display, it's just, you're experiencing, I think, the best 3DS and DS experience that you could have. Now, when you're playing other generations of consoles that obviously didn't make use of the dual screens, you can use the second screen to display things like a YouTube video, or like have Spotify music playing in the background, or even have like a walkthrough guide. But I haven't really honestly been doing that much. And so whenever I'm playing a different gen console that's just utilizing one screen, I will just turn off the bottom screen for the most part. Now, I know that we talked about the Thor and the fact that it can handle retro games all the way up to the PS2 relatively easily, and that's true and that's great. But what was a bit unexpected for me is how well it could handle things like Wii U emulation and Switch emulation. The Wii U side of things has been, for the most part, pretty good, and I've only encountered a couple issues with certain games. But, you know, with a little bit of tweaking here and there, most of the time I can get it sorted out. And the same goes for Switch emulation, although I will say I've tinkered around with more games on the Switch emulation side of things. But the great thing about this community, and just the emulation community in general, is that if you need help with trying to find correct settings on a certain game, you usually can find that information relatively easily online. And that has been helping me out a ton, because when a game isn't running the best, I usually have to kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit and find the correct settings to make it run right. But the fact that it can even do it is pretty insane to me. And emulating games on Eden and Cemu, I think, is kind of what brought this handheld over the top, so to speak, for me. And playing some of these Steam games locally on the device, you know, there's gonna be definitely a limit. You're not gonna be able to play like AAA titles on it, new AAA titles anyways, without any issues, of course. And so definitely set your expectations on that, but you can play some games pretty well. And whenever I want to try and play like a AAA title and I know the Thor probably can't handle it, that's when I will try game streaming. And I've tried game streaming in 2 different ways so far. One is streaming games from my PS5 using the PX Play app, and the other is using Artemis to stream games from my PC. And PX Play for my PS5 has been pretty great and pretty sweet in the fact that I can play my PS5 games pretty much all throughout my apartment. And these are like AAA titles, and seeing these AAA titles like Cyberpunk, for example, on this 6-inch OLED display it just looks gorgeous. Sometimes for certain games, because it wasn't really meant to be played on a handheld with a screen that's that size, the text is quite small and it can be kind of hard to read things, but it hasn't been bothering me too much. And I've also been using Artemis to stream some of my Steam games straight from my PC. So I've been able to play some AAA titles that my PC can handle, but I'm able to play them on my handheld. And these are things that are not specific to the Thor. You can do this using, I think, any Android device, but the fact that it can do everything that it does before that, plus that, just makes this handheld feel more well-rounded. And I think out of the 2 game streaming experiences that I've had, one with PX Play and Artemis, I think Artemis has been the most smooth experience because I've experienced a little bit less latency. I do experience some more latency with the PX Play app, but it's not too bad. And I think mostly that's because of my internet connection. It's pretty good. And so if you do want to game stream, not only on this device, but just pretty much on anything, you're going to need great internet connection. I think that goes without saying, right? And because there is a little bit of latency no matter what you do, I usually opt out of playing things like online FPS shooters, and I'll usually opt to play, you know, like a story-driven game, something that I could really get immersed in. But whether I'm playing the Steam games locally on the Thor or I'm streaming the games, I think it's pretty sweet that I can do that in addition to playing a lot of my retro games and playing Wii U and up to the Switch. Now, it isn't all rainbows and sunshine, so let's talk about some of the shortcomings of the Thor, as I think it's important to mention these things, especially if you're thinking about getting one yourself. First of all, it will probably take you forever to get this guy. I got mine within a month, which honestly seemed like the shorter side of things, because I have seen some people online wait 2 to 3 months to get their Thor in the post. So the fact that I got mine within a month, honestly, I feel like one of the lucky ones. Nothing about this is plug and play, and you probably already know that if you're watching this video. But honestly, I think it's important to emphasize this because I think there might be some people online that see this and want to get it and think it's going to come in the mail pretty much ready to go, and that's not accurate at all. This at its core is an Android device, and so everything that you do on it, you will have to set up front ends, emulators. You'll also have to configure settings for certain games when they're not running well. Not to mention, if this is going to be your first emulation handheld, or as some people like to say, it's a retro handheld, you're going to have to source all of your own ROMs, which if this is the first handheld you've ever owned, you're probably going to spend a lot of time doing that. And no, I'm not going to talk about how you can get them, how that process works. That's something that you would completely have to do on your own. And I think all in all, this means that you're going to spend a lot of time tinkering, probably more time tinkering than playing, especially when you first get it. But for me, I like tinkering. You guys probably already know that by the videos that I've made on this channel. So tinkering doesn't bother me at all. And honestly, once I got everything set up, emulators, front ends, games, you name it, it's very satisfying because it just feels like a more complete experience and device. This all in all has made me feel like the Thor is just a great overall gaming device, all because of its versatility, portability, and the aesthetics, of course, that make me want to use it on a daily basis. It's pretty much all I could ever ask from a handheld, in all honesty. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. If you want to see more videos about the Thor, let me know, and subscribe for more videos like this. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you next time. Bye.